So a disturbing new study came out this week that I wanted to share with you. This is Washington Post here. They say black men sentenced to more time for committing the exact same crime as a white person, study finds. So this is from the USSC, or the United States Sentencing Commission. And what they found is that after controlling for a wide variety of sentencing factors, so that would be things like age, education, citizenship, weapon possession, prior criminal history, yada, yada, yada. After controlling for those factors, black men who committed the same crimes as white men received federal prison sentences that are, on average, nearly 20% longer. Nearly 20%. You know, I would argue if you said, hey, it was whatever, let's say 5% longer, I would argue, yeah, but that's not, there's like a line. I don't think that's indicative of, oh, there's some sort of bias here. But yeah, at a certain point, you go, yeah, that's pretty indicative of bias. I don't know where that line is. Maybe it's around 10% or something like that, but we're talking nearly 20% longer sentences on average. So that's a very pronounced trend, and that's a lot of time. And they explain that this happened after the Supreme Court's decision in United States versus Booker in 2005. And what happened in that case is that gave federal judges significantly more discretion on sentencing. So they could impose harsher sentences or more lenient sentences, depending on what they viewed as the facts in the individual cases, than what the guidelines called for. So it just gave them more leniency. Hey, you want to increase it, you want to decrease a little bit, by all means, go right ahead. So it turns out that, on average, for black men committing the exact same crime, it's nearly 20% longer. And they go on to say that a 2014 University of Michigan Law School study found that all other factors being equal, black offenders were 75% more likely to face a charge carrying a mandatory minimum sentence than a white offender who committed the same crime. So, look, it's hard to come to any other conclusion. It's not like I didn't try. I sat there and I was like, okay, let's think of why this could be. Are there other factors that play a role? And really, no. When you look at it, there are certain facts that are quite damning about racial bias that still exists. Another one is the death penalty. A black person and a white person committing the same crime, the black person is way more likely to get the death penalty. Again, same crime. Exact same crime. So it's not like the judge is evaluating what the punishment should be solely on the basis of the crime. It's the same crime, but way more often it's black people who get the harsher punishment. You know, we've spoken about it when it comes to the drug war, and black people, white people use drugs at a similar rate. Black people are arrested for it 4 times more often. There's one when it comes to selling drugs. White people are more likely to sell drugs. Black people are more likely to get arrested for selling drugs. And now we have this fact here, which is that black men and white men control for all other factors. They commit the same crime. Black men have, on average, nearly 20% longer sentences, and black people committing the same crimes as white people, nearly 75% more likely to face a mandatory minimum charge. So look, bottom line is, they're just more punitive. The system's just more punitive against black people. I mean, that really is what it boils down to. And, you know, the solution for this, thankfully, the solution for this is actually pretty simple. The solution would be, no, you don't give the judges that broad discretion. You say, for crime X with facts X, Y, Z, the punishment is this. And that's it. And so you don't give them the ability to, I'm going to, do more or less here, because unfortunately, subconscious bias plays a role. And that's another thing. I don't think it's like, evil judges like, I will be tougher on the black people. No. It's subconscious bias. They probably rationalize it 1,000 ways, but it's subconscious bias that comes out. So most of the judges are probably white. And so it's a subconscious, like, tribalism type thing going on here, where they think, the white, hey, could have made a mistake, and there's chance for rehabilitation for the white guy, and maybe you relate on some level. My cousin, went through similar stuff and is a criminal, whatever. You view it through a more sympathetic perspective. You saw the same thing again in the drug war. The opioid crisis is viewed as, oh my God, something that we need to fix. We need to address this. When it was the crack epidemic that largely affected the black community, they said, oh, this is a criminal problem. We need to be punitive. So put them in jail. So don't rehabilitate the black community for a drug epidemic. Put them in the jail. When it's a white community that's largely experiencing a drug epidemic, oh, we need rehab. We need rehabilitation. We need to fix it. Not punitive, fix it. So you see these subconscious biases that come out and play a very pronounced role in society. And I don't think we should deny this. I don't think we should turn away from this. I think this is something we can address. There are definitely policy solutions to this stuff. I gave you one already. Another one would be, the drug war, end it. End it. It's not something you should really be in jail for anyway if you're doing drugs or selling drugs and you're not hurting anybody else. That shouldn't be a criminal thing anyway. So if you end that right off the bat, boom, a lot of the racial disparities would seemingly go away because you take away the vehicle through which they can express those biases and those racial prejudices. So if you end the drug war, if you change the sentencing rules, if you reform or eliminate the mandatory minimum system, there are ways you can address this that are real policy-oriented ways, and they should be exhausted because it is true. There are still racial biases that exist in the criminal justice system for sure, and that's what the study shows.